A disaster suddenly reduced the population of humans all over the world. Cities, troubled by problems like electricity and water shortages, began moving to the forests. In the forests, they hunted to survive. Please subscribe to the channel. The movie opens about 100 years after the world was nearly destroyed, when humans started living in the forests. Meanwhile, a man and his son had been living in the forest for many years. Their names were Jack and John. They had gone hunting to keep themselves alive. Jack aimed an arrow at a wild boar, but missed, and the boar ran away. Despite many attempts, they couldn't catch any animal. Disappointed, they started heading back home. They had built a house deep inside the forest. As they were walking, they found a small child's shoe on the path. They thought maybe a child was injured nearby. Following the trail, they soon came across a car that was badly crashed into a tree. John searched inside the car and found a pack of cigarettes, which he kept. Then he found a packet of biscuits, which he ate completely. But he didn't tell his dad about this. John knew he needed food to survive here, so he did what he had to do. They decided to spend the night inside the car as they waited for the owner to return. The car was the safest place for them at that moment. The next morning, when they woke up, the owner of the car hadn't shown up yet, so they headed back towards their home. After a while, they reached their house, which was located deep in the forest. They had surrounded their home with thorny bushes to keep animals away. They went inside, and John met his girlfriend, Sarah. Sarah's parents were no longer alive in this world. John was her only support. Sarah had been injured badly in an accident while hunting. She slipped and fell, severely hurting her leg. John loved her very much and always took care of her. After dinner that night, everyone went to sleep. The next morning, when John stepped outside, he saw some people in the distance. These people were hunters who robbed others in the forest. John immediately rushes inside the house and tells his father about the raiders. His father is shocked to hear this and starts making a plan to help everyone survive. John steps outside with his dad and girlfriend, where he hides in a bunker with her. But before Jack can get into the bunker, the raiders attack him. Jack puts up a strong fight, but because they outnumber him by a lot, he's eventually overpowered and killed. After Jack dies, the raiders loot all of their belongings, including their clothes. They even search for John and his girlfriend, but luckily the two were well hidden. Once the raiders leave, John returns to what's left of their home with his girlfriend. There is nothing left but the roof. He soon realizes that his girlfriend's wound had gotten worse due to the freezing cold outside. The raiders had also taken the medicine she needed to stay comfortable. At times, John even considered ending her life just to spare her from the pain. He couldn't bear to watch her suffer, but he never had the heart to go through with it. Now, he had nothing left to live on. Supplies had become a matter of survival. So John came up with a plan. He covered the house completely to keep it hidden and let Julia sleep there while he set off toward the raiders' camp. The cold outside was brutal. Without warm clothes, his bones were trembling. Still, he kept walking forward. His hands began to freeze, and the blood in his body felt like it was turning to water. After walking a little farther, the cold finally took its toll. He collapsed unconscious near a riverbank. Back in the forest, Julia woke up and started looking around for John, but he wasn't there. She didn't know that he had gone after the raiders. Julia panicked. She tried to open the gate, but it was jammed and wouldn't open. Meanwhile, John regained consciousness and saw a young boy filling water nearby. John assumed there must be a settlement nearby and began following the child. The boy saw John coming and ran into his house to hide, but John broke down the door and went inside. He didn't harm anyone. Instead, he found some clothes, put them on, and took a few more before leaving. The child lived alone in the forest with his grandfather, just like John had. With warm clothes on, John started feeling some relief from the cold and began walking again. After some time, he came across some ashes on the ground where something or someone had been burned. As he got closer, he realized it was human remains. Looking at the charred skeleton, John became certain that it was his father's. The raiders had probably burned his father's body and eaten what they could. The thought made him sick. He started vomiting. John couldn't just leave his father's remains like that. So with deep sorrow in his heart, he buried his father's bones in the middle of the forest to give his soul peace. John was completely alone in the forest now. He was badly injured and deeply haunted by the grief of losing his father. After burying his father's remains, he climbed a tree, hoping to spot where the raiders' camp might be. Meanwhile, in another part of the forest, a man and a family was injured and a woman was tending to his wounds. But suddenly, she saw something in the forest that terrified everyone standing there. It turned out that these people were raiders too. But what were they afraid of? That will be revealed later. Back to John. He was up on a tree and noticed smoke rising in the distance. He quickly climbed down and started trying to light a fire. Once he managed to get a fire going, he sat beside it to warm himself. But the forest was full of dangers, especially wolves. As night began to fall, John's troubles only grew. He was alone, and soon wolves started circling around him. To protect himself, John grabbed a burning stick and used it to scare the wolves away. The wolves, seeing the fire, didn't dare come closer. Somehow he managed to survive the entire night out there. The next morning, he woke up and kept moving forward. After walking for a while, he spotted a tent on a nearby hill. He carefully approached the tent. Inside, he didn't find much, just a bag. He took what was useful to him. As he stepped out, he saw the same boy from before, the one he had taken clothes from. But this time, John ignored him and kept walking. After traveling for several more hours, he spent another night out in the wild. He saw a mysterious girl, one of the raiders. She was cleaning her weapons, which were stained with blood. John hid quietly, watching everything from a distance. When the girl left, John secretly followed her all the way back to her shelter while she was heating water over a fire and went out to collect wood. John sneaked into her house to search for medicine, but he couldn't find it. Suddenly, the girl returned and attacked him from behind. A fierce fight broke out between them. She had the upper hand, but John managed to outsmart her and knocked her unconscious. Just then, John noticed a few of her companions approaching the room, including their leader, a man named George. To avoid getting caught, John dragged the girl's body behind a tree and hid nearby, watching from a distance. The raiders came into the room and began searching for the girl. They were all confused and alarmed, wondering where she had gone. Among them was the same young boy from before. The raiders had captured him, and they were planning to cook and eat him. Meanwhile, George, the leader, also goes to look for the girl, but she's nowhere to be seen because John had hidden her body, so none of the raiders can find her. Just then, John sees George giving someone some medicine. It's the same medicine that John's girlfriend used to take to relieve her pain from injuries. After giving the medicine, George puts it into a box and then, along with the others, heads out into the forest to search for the missing girl. This gives John the perfect opportunity. He rushes straight to the box and tries to open it, but it's locked with a padlock and he can't get it open. Soon, John realizes the raiders are coming back. Thinking fast, he quickly unties the rope that was binding the captured child, and the boy runs away. John, however, doesn't have enough time to escape, so he hides inside the house. Outside, George finds the girl's dead body behind the tree. The raiders are furious. They immediately realize someone had been following them and must have killed the girl while they were away. John watches from hiding. He notices something important. George has the key to the box hanging around his neck. John knows he must get that medicine, no matter what, so he decides to wait for the right moment. That night, while everyone is sleeping, John sneaks up to George and carefully tries to take the key from around his neck. After a tense moment, he manages to get it. He runs outside, unlocks the box, and grabs the medicine. But before leaving, he locks the raiders inside their own house from the outside. As he's escaping, he suddenly gets caught in a wire trap one the raiders had set up for protection. The trap triggers a bell, waking up all the raiders. Break down the door and rush outside. John manages to free himself and runs as fast as he can. Meanwhile, Julia, who hasn't eaten in days, is feeling weaker and more ill. She tries to go outside to find food, but when she steps out, she sees a pack of wolves roaming right in front of their house. Back to John. He's running for his life, but the raiders spot him. George is enraged. John had killed his daughter, so now he's chasing him like a starving beast. Somehow, John makes it back to the boy's house, but when he gets there, he's horrified to see the boy's grandfather has been viciously killed by wolves. John is filled with guilt. He realizes it was his fault. He had broken the door, and that's how the wolves got in. As he stands there in sorrow, the raiders catch up and attack him. They knock him unconscious. When John wakes up, he finds himself surrounded by a few raiders. One of them is sharpening a knife. John immediately understands what they plan to do to him. John tries to reach for the whistle lying near him, but just then, George arrives and burns a photo of John's father right in front of him. Moments later, John manages to get the whistle into his mouth and blows it. The sound of the whistle draws the wolves roaming nearby. Seeing the wolves approach, George's men panic and run for their lives. John hides under a tree branch, which helps him avoid detection and stay safe. After the raiders flee, John uses a knife to cut the ropes binding his hands and feet. Meanwhile, George, desperate to save himself, attacks the girl who was running with him, hoping the wolves will eat her instead of him. Back to John. Some of George's men attack him, but John defends himself. One by one, he takes them down and collects all their supplies before moving on. He knows he needs to get back to Julia quickly. She won't survive much longer without help. As he continues, John spots George again. This time, he shoots an arrow into George's leg, bringing him down. John is about to finish him with another arrow, but his bow snaps. At the same moment, a pack of wolves starts approaching. John, trying to save himself, runs toward home. Along the way, he finds a house. Outside the house, there's a woman's skeleton. He enters the house and drinks some water, storing a bit for later. Just then, he hears a noise. He suspects someone else might be inside. As he moves closer, he discovers George is there. Seizing the moment, John attacks and finally them. John then leaves the house and returns to the boy's home, where he drops off some food supplies before heading back to his own house. But when he arrives, he's shocked. The front door is open and Julia is nowhere to be seen. John fears the worst, that either an animal or the raiders got to her. He starts crying. Just then, someone gently places a hand on his shoulder from behind. It's Julia. John is overwhelmed with joy to see her alive. And with that, the story comes to an end.